Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we're going to be featuring a team that's suggested to me actually by my girlfriend, Greenish Backwards, or Cindy. She suggested a team using Zarude, Ho-Oh, which I think is an extremely strong core, and then Zacian. You can use Mewtwo, Dialga, basically anything that's like a really good safe switch. Obviously there's many variations on this team. Many of these teams have hit legend. I think Lugia is really strong because it's very tanky. Mewtwo, very flexible. Zacian, obviously, always really good. And Dialga is also really good. The only thing with Dialga, so there's pros and cons to each one, right? So if you run Dialga, you're going to be weaker to a Ho-Oh lead, right? If you run like Mewtwo, then you're going to be weaker to a Dialga lead, right? Or even or like yeah, exactly. So there's like a number of different trade-offs that can occur. If you have Lugia, then you're weaker to like a Melmetal lead, which can be a little bit challenging for Zarude. So let's go ahead and get started. Obviously, this is one of Zarude's number one targets, and they actually come into Excadrill here. And the thing is, I probably should switch already to Zacian. I'm running Zacian with Wild Charge and Close Combat. But the thing is that this is a perfectly fine lead for Zarude as well, since Zarude does resist the mud shots and the drill runs, and then they're obviously throwing neutral rocks like with no stab, and I'm hitting with neutral damage, so it's doing quite a bit of damage. I probably should farm up just a little bit more here, but it's okay. They let it go, and then I'm gonna say switch into Ho-Oh. I believe they come with their own Ho-Oh here, which is quite common with these Giratina backlines now, and I'm this is definitely should be the Brave Bird, and they're gonna come into Giratina here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna throw the Earthquake first, and then throw the Brave Bird, just so I don't debuff myself. But this should be a CMP tie to the Shadow Ball, since they got two Shadow Claws in when I threw my first Incinerate, and I did two more, which gives them five Shadow Claws. They actually let it go, and they're going all in on this Ho. They unfortunately lag a little bit there, but I'm in a very good spot here. If they don't shield this, then I'll be able to farm them down. If they do shield this, then I can just wait for them to throw here. Maybe their play was to try to incinerate down, but Zacian would be able to live a Brave Bird, and all I have to do is reach the Wild Charge. So not too big a deal. What they do here, they end up throwing the EQ, which makes sense because they don't want to debuff themselves. And if I didn't have Wild Charge, then this would be a much more challenging matchup. In my opinion, you definitely need a Wild Charge and Close Combat, because that covers your like Steel and Flying weakness with Zarude. And Landorus versus Zarude, pretty good matchup again. Resist the mud shots, doing neutral with the Vine Whips and Power Whip. You want to throw Power Whip in this scenario, mostly because it has 10 more base power than Dark Pulse, and I'm gonna try to catch a move, and it looks like I do catch the superpower there. A little bit like awkward animation. I'm not sure, they lagged for one turn, and they actually come into Meloetta. Meloetta actually beats Zacian in the, I believe, in the 1 and 2 shield. But I win the 0. Double close combat would KO here. It is neutral to Meloetta, and okay, kind of a tricky situation here for me, because I know it has access to Dazzling Gleam, and I was hoping that they wouldn't have it, but they do have it, which makes sense with the lead that they were going to use. And I do shield this just in case they have the Thunderbolt, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be a Psyshock. And I have energy, so I have to shield this. This should be just enough for them to get the Stone Edge. I'm going to farm up a little bit here. I probably could did one more Incinerate, because they need, it's 7 for the first one, and then 6 for the subsequent Stone Edges. And they actually come into Giratina here, so this is looking pretty good for me right now. I just need to land this Brave Bird, and then a Dark Pulse should be more than enough to KO. And I win CMP with Zarude. So I switch here, and actually, I actually wasn't sure which side the Dark Pulse was on, so I did one more Vine Whip. which might have. The thing is, they didn't have another Dragon Claw there, so it might have been a little bit costly for me. And then the double resisting the confusions allows me to Vine Whip down. So obviously, one of the most challenging leads to deal with, but I do have two answers in the bag. So normally people have a really hard time with the Zacian lead, Zacian counter switch, which is understandable because Zacian is totally busted in this league. So I throw the close combat right away, and they actually don't throw on with their Dalga. So this is looking okay for me, and I'm gonna let this go because they have two side strikes here at this point in time. So they need four more for the focus blast. Three, four. But the thing is, like, I don't think I can win if I shield if I fall for a focus blast bait and they actually throw the ice beam at me. Unfortunately, they do reach the the side strike here, and then I'm gonna immediately swap. Maybe I could have threw the dark pulse there, but I'm hoping to make better use of it later. They have like enough energy for the Draco here. They do go for the Draco Meteor, and they farm up just a little bit there. I throw the EQ first. Again, it takes the same amount of energy to get to two. Well, same amount of incinerates to get to two Brave Birds as it takes to get to a Brave Bird and an EQ. So I'd rather not debuff myself. But honestly, here I probably should have held out just a little bit longer because I need to get one more incinerate before switching here, and you'll see why later. I throw the dark pulse here. I should have just did one more incinerate and risked it, because now they're gonna farm me down, and there's absolutely no way I'm gonna be able to make it to the move here. I end up falling just like one turn short. Like if I like I fell four turns short, but if I would have did that one incinerate before switching, or try to get a sneak and move through, then would have been in a much better position there. Okay, so we have Zarude into Guillotine, obviously very favorable lead for me. They come into Dialga. In my so before I used to tell people not to shield the first one because you can live it, but the problem is that if you don't shield the first one, then Dialga can two shield and farm you down. So I throw the close combat, and then you can't snarl down here. You have to throw the second one, even though it's like looks like it's super close here. So I throw three. This should actually be like two Dragon Breaths before they get to they actually come into here. So I do three snarls, then throw. And then I'm gonna do one snarl and throw the second wild charge. So this is looking really favorable for me at this point in time. I guess they were hoping that I didn't have play rough, so they were just trying to guess on which moveset I was gonna have. And then I'm gonna let this go for sure, just in case they like earthquake bait me. But I should be in a very comfortable situation here. I banked the Brave Bird. I do have Best Buddy on my Ho-Oh, so all I have to do here is to be one away from Dark Pulse as I leave this matchup, in order to land the Dark Pulse on the Ho-Oh. So I throw here, can easily live two Shadow Balls from the Giratina. Unfortunately, you can't farm down because the Vine Whips are resisted. I do get an extra move through, which is helpful here. Not too big a deal though. And then I'm gonna throw one before I get to the Dark Pulse, and then I should be in a very good spot here. I'm gonna be one Vine Whip, and then I'm gonna throw, and then I'm gonna switch here and throw the Brave Bird, and this should be a GG here. And they actually decide to let it go, which makes sense because they knew I had move banks plus a lot of health on my Ho-Oh. All right, so obviously very good lead here, and they come into Dialga safe switch here, which is pretty common. So this might be Togekiss in the back. It might be Mewtwo in the back. Togekiss in the back is pretty common. This is like one of like FP6 signature teams, the one that he's been using for 10 seasons. And again, so I debate here on whether or not I should just shield twice and then snarl down. but I decide to just to go for it, and they decide to they're at it, right? So it makes sense for them to shield, and I do shield here, and I'm in a pretty good spot right now. If they come in Kyogre, then I'm gonna look to wild charge them. Honestly, maybe I should wild charge just right away, just so they get like one less waterfall through, and this gives them less chance to get to the Brave Bird, to the Blizzard, I should say, and they actually let it go, and they actually come to Tokus here, and this is a very tricky situation for me being down a shield, because if I Brave Bird here, then the Ancient Power will KO me. So I decide to go the safe route and throw the EQ, and then they're gonna throw the Ancient Power here, and unless they boost, then I should be able to win. Unfortunately, they do boost, which is really problematic for me. And then I go into Zarude here. I have to survive the charms, but Zarude has some like pretty good bulk into it. This should just be an Ancient Power, and I definitely should be able to survive the Ancient Power and one more charm, and that worked out pretty nicely for me. Honestly, I probably would have been able to snarl down, or at least tie, because they were quite low at that point in time, and I probably could survive at least one charm. So this probably would end up in a tie if they even if they did farm my down my Zarude. So the Zarude Ho-Oh core really strong. Obviously, this team is really good against the it's really good against the Giratina double steals or the Giratina with Zacian in the back. You can play around with the movesets on Zacian, but I do think close combat and wild charge is the optimal moveset in this situation. I also like the idea of running Mewtwo instead of Zacian, so you can bait out the Giratina and then take a shield from it and then come out with some energy. Because two Dark Pulses is like almost KO Dialga Elite, so it makes it a little bit easier to like try to energy energy management this way. But obviously Zacian's absolutely S tier plus Pokemon, so it's always going to be really strong there. And it's very unlikely that they say switch into a Giratina into a Zacian, because if I do have play rough with energy lead, I probably would be able to overcome that matchup. So, but anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see everyone in the next video.